The world can seem upside down at times, which has set me on a journey in search for love, truth, and ultimately personal freedom. Welcome to the Mack Show. Hello, brothers and sisters, and welcome back to another episode of the Mack Show. I am Mack. What season are we in? What year is it? They say it's 2025. In eschatology and Christianity, they've been telling us that Jesus is coming back to reign for 1,000 years. But is that true? Meaning, is the millennial reign coming, or has it already happened? In this episode, I bring the final conspiracy boss, Abby, from TikTok on the show, and we have an amazing conversation, and she shares her content and what she's been finding, and we really have a beautiful discussion about Satan's little season, and are we in it right now? All right, brothers and sisters, well, as I said, I'm so excited to have the final conspiracy boss, Abby, on the podcast. I found Abby on TikTok, and her content's incredible. I love exploring all things, and here I have such a beautiful soul. Abby, thanks so much for joining the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me, and finally getting to chat with you. It'll be great.
Yeah. So, I think where we should start is, when did you first start entertaining a timeline that was different than what we're told?
It's actually been quite recent, just before I started the TikTok. So I've always just been taught futurism. I went to Catholic primary school, go and listen to sermons on a Sunday. And to me, I didn't even really realize eschatology, and there was different ideas. I was just always taught futurism. And over Easter, I felt something shift last November, which makes me laugh, because I was just telling you that we then, a few weeks later, we flooded our house. And it's almost felt like this kind of weird cleansing. And something shifted, and it's been a very weird year. And we're coming back full circle. And at Easter, I don't know, again, something this Easter felt different than other years. And over the Easter in a weekend, I decided to go back and read the kind of Last Supper through to the end of each of the four Gospels.
Wow.
And I was just reading them, and it kind of includes the verily I say to you that this generation will not pass away.
Yes.
Till the Son of Man comes back. And just everything I was reading, I was just like, if you read this, you can't take out what we're told our history is, his story.
Yes.
And take that out of the picture. Because I've been told recently that I'm atrocious for saying I believe Jesus' words in the gospel and in Revelation.
Wow. Because
history tells us that it hasn't happened yet, which I find really interesting. And that was meant to be from someone who's awakened. But when I was reading it, and then it's even to the point where he obviously just tells Peter that he's not going to have a very nice ending.
Yeah.
And he says, well, what about John? And he says, well, what does it matter to you if John's still here when I return? And he goes, so then they all start thinking that John's never going to die, which is another thing I've heard people who've come back with debunking of little C's and eschatology, saying that John's still alive somewhere, wandering around. I don't know. I've heard that actually put out there. But the reality is, he says, no, John will still be alive when I come back, is what he's effectively saying. And then I just started thinking, well, what if... Then I went to Revelation, and then I found Revelation 20, where, I don't know about you, but we're never really preached to about Revelation. It's kind of this... No. It's this mystery book that
taboo.
They don't touch. They don't really touch it. We go to a local church, and they actually did like a side little, you can go in the evenings and let's talk about Revelation, but they never preach on it. And then you read the verse, and it's very clear that the millennial kingdom ends, and then there's more time
Yes.
And the other debunking I see of the eschatology is um, they kind of mix in end times, tribulation, and say, well, the sun's still here, and not everyone's there's still fish in the sea, so it can't be. But we have the 1,000 year reign, and then we have Satan being free for a short time. And if you realize what it says, that he's there to deceive the world, the whole world,
Mm,
and he's a master of deception, and
yes.
he's had 1,000 years to plan it.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's been very well executed,
Right.
and it's got Christians, in my view, looking in completely the wrong place. And
Mm.
I think it's clever. You got to give it to him.
It's
That
it totally is. I mean, it's one of the things that I say often. I get these quotes and I put them out on social media. Is 99% of truth is 100% a lie,
yeah
and that's a hard pill for people. So people are like, they want to like, but it is. If you have
yeah
a glass of pure spring water and I put one drop of arsenic in it,
yeah it's
who would drink it? Why
yeah
would you drink it? It's contaminated. And that's what's happened, I think, in the Christian world, where, yeah, you might have
mm,
99% of truth, and that's obviously being generous. But you
yeah
have 1% of lie intentionally put in there, it's going to
yeah.
take the whole thing down a different route. And that's, I think, what Christians are wrestling with right now. It's what they observe in their spirit and then what they're told in their mind. And there's this cognitive dissonance that everyone's wrestling with.
And we're not really taught much of the history from from the ascension to kind of the end of the Dark Ages. We're just kind of told very little about that. I don't know how it's presented in the US, but certainly in school here, when you study history, it kind of all starts in 1066 for us, which is when the Normans
Mm,
invaded Britain from France, and that's when our history starts. We're just
mm.
told to ignore. Before then, it was just some farmers and it was feudal and there was nothing going on. Just don't look at that bit
Right,
of
right,
history. We're certainly not taught anything about the Jewish Roman War, the 7 Year War, the collapse of the temple.
right.
That's all very much kind of, yeah, not interesting. Um, and so when you actually, when I was reading this at Easter, and I started kind of searching online for like, does anyone think that he's come back before? And then then it was preterism was coming up, and I was like, well, clearly there's still death. There's clearly, I mean, Hollywood's not hiding who
Right.
they worship.
Yeah,
So
yeah, that's right.
to me, preterism just
And
doesn't
can
make
you
any sense.
explain preterism?
So preterism is for people who believe that the whole of Revelation has come to pass and that we are living in a kind of new heaven and earth,
Yeah.
which it's metaphor. They kind of take it all metaphorically.
Right.
To be honest, I haven't really. Once I got to the point where they were trying to claim that we were obviously past the final judgment and in the new heaven and earth. When you there'll be no more tears, no more death, no more crying or pain. I mean,
Mm,
I don't know how anyone
right.
can claim we're at that point, but I feel like it's a deception that's been put forward to kind of hide this small few lines in the middle of chapter 20 of Revelation about the little season. So it's like, oh no, that's just preterism. They're all
Mm,
idiots because they believe that everything's come to pass.
right. Right.
And then there's futurism. And there, I did manage to find a few accounts. This must have been back in obviously April time about the little season. I was like, oh, okay. And then I just got obsessed with consuming as much of that content as possible.
Yes.
But even then, there wasn't really many people engaging as much. I feel like it's just exploded in the last few months.
Totally. Totally. I agree. But I think, I've watched I just love first of all, I really appreciate your gentle spirit and how you approach research and how you're connecting dots, which is really beautiful. Some of the accounts that are popping up are just hopping on trends versus like authentic searching for, connecting those dots.
Yeah,
And that's one of the things I'm so happy that we're having this conversation. One of the things that, so in my awakening process, Tartaria, I have a friend who told me about John Levy, and I don't know if you've ever seen John Levy's work, but he's this really dry voiced, he's in America and he's very, hello, look at the, I mean, he talks like that the whole time and it's fascinating. And he blew my mind with all this old world in America, all over the world. He's like, why are all these photos, these old photos of cities? There's no people in them.
Yeah,
And
like
who built these cities? Like even San Francisco is one that sticks out in my mind. San Francisco is this incredible architecture city and there's photos of it. No one's there in these photos. Well, so you
yeah,
got a whole city to just stay inside? That's impossible.
yeah,
And I think what they were doing was documenting the reset.
yeah. They were
Be-
finding it. Yeah,
Yeah, they were founded in.
yeah,
It's so unbelievable how they've told us the truth, but we've just believed the lie.
yeah. And if
Um,
you, one of the big things that's really been blowing my mind this summer is I did a video that I didn't really think much of. And I was talking about how in the footnotes of the 1599 Geneva Bible,
mm,
it very clearly says that the end of the millennial reign happened when Pope Gregory was there, and it took them 150 years to destroy a lot of stuff, set fire to the millennial kingdom,
yeah,
which lines up to me with all the fires in the 15th, 16th centuries. The Great Fire of London, 1666,
yeah.
destroyed the Lucius tablet. And King Lucius was the first king in the world to declare a country Christian.
Wow.
And he's presented, if you look him up on Wikipedia, presented as some like, oh, he doesn't even, didn't, people don't even know if he really existed. And what the 1666 fire destroyed was his tablets and his laws as they were written, which I just think is very symbolic. It was literally Halloween 1666.
Wow.
And when you start putting the pieces together, and then they had this kind of 150 years of just trying to destroy everything. And then you've got the 1776 USA, the Liberty Movement, which Madeline, Leaving Babylon, does
Yeah.
an amazing job of.
Yeah, yeah. I found her because of you, and I've been watching her, and she does a great job. Yeah.
Such a great job, and just the revolutions, getting rid of the kind of divinely appointed monarchies
Yes.
across the world. This kind of do as thou wilt
Right.
approach,
Yes.
which kind of flies in the face of everything that would have been probably in place during the millennial reign.
Right.
As you said, the architecture. I mean, I live in the Cotswolds in England, and every church, you just look up and it's astounding stonework that's just
Amazing. I was just in the Cotswolds and driving, and I'm like in these little villages, and I'm like, what?
yeah,
One of the things that, everything's inverted. When they say the Stone Age and they reference the Stone Age as like Neanderthals and just dumb dwelling cave dwellers, I think that's the mockery too, because all
yeah,
the stone that they used, the
yeah.
Stone Age was Tartaria. And one of the things that Jesus says is, if you don't cry out to me, the
The
stones
stones. Yeah,
will cry out.
yeah.
And there's a frequency and harmonic in the stones that they knew that they built, and how they built them. I have no idea. Don't know if we'll ever know until it's
Frequencies
revealed. But
and
yeah,
yeah,
frequencies but the Stone Age was the most advanced civilization, and they tell us the Stone Age was the most primitive. It's so
yeah.
crazy, the inverted truth.
It's the same that we've got this 1,000 year dark ages. I mean, it was dark
Right.
for Satan.
Right. Yeah, exactly right.
I'm sure it was really dark down
Yeah.
there. And yeah, and we're told that there's no God during that time, that nothing advanced for a whole 1,000 years. And when you realize it lines up so clearly. So that's when I started to, I know there's some creators that don't believe there's been much time added. But I think Jason Jack and some of the others do a really good breakdown of there's no evidence really in our world that there was this kind of three separate catastrophic events spread through the first millennium. So
Mm,
we're kind of told that there's some stuff that happened at Pompeii, and then there's more that happens, and then in the 900s more happens. But archaeologically, we don't have the evidence of there being it all points to it just being one
One time.
enormous
Yes.
catastrophic event.
Yes.
Um, Whether there was a bit of a time for the Gentiles, I know. Um, Beyond the Veil, he kind of presents a slightly different timeline,
Mm,
the little season, but we're just all trying to pick it apart because there's so much history, and you can just but it fits every conspiracy theory
yes.
together.
Yes.
And I think when you look at around us and what's being presented to our children, even on TV,
Right.
the mo the I don't know what it was. I didn't watch anything from obviously Thanksgiving, but where you see these music videos and these even just trainers with drops of blood in them, and
Yeah. Yeah.
the way that's kind of heading, they're getting more and more overt because I think it's all kind of coming to a bit of a head,
Yes.
and it's just everything fits perfectly within this deception, and I think the fact that it's 250 years next year
Yes.
since 1776 um, is
And in
very
America,
interesting.
100%. It's sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. In America, all of a sudden, here comes the No Kings protest again. They're bringing it back. I mean,
No divine authority, yeah,
yeah, how is that even possible that the No Kings protest is starting right before the little seasons is coming to an end?
yeah.
And I was just in Washington D.C. a couple weeks ago, and I was walking around, and I was taking photos of these the architecture is like being in Paris or it's like being in London. It's the same architecture, it's the same majesty. It's unbelievable. And I'm standing next to this 30-foot door and I'm taking a picture. I'm like, why would they have 30-foot doors back in,
Yeah.
200,
And no
300 years ago?
bathrooms in any of
Yeah,
these
yeah,
places.
no bathrooms and no plumbing and it's it's unbelievable. And yet here we're coming to an end. And I was driving around, this is in 2020, and I'm like, if Jesus is coming back, first of all, one of the things that I wrestled with for a long time was in the Christian community I grew up in, it was this fear of this one world government, one world religion, this this oneness, and that's satanic and all these things. But I started thinking like, well, when Jesus comes back, it's going to be a one
It
world
will be.
government. When
Yeah.
Jesus comes back, it's going to be a one world religion. I was like, wait a minute, like what's really going on? And as I'm driving around and there's and all the fast food and the poison and the gross strip malls everywhere. The Cotswolds are so beautiful, but you come to America and some of these, you're like, what? It's so ugly. I'm like, Jesus is coming back to rule and reign with
This, yeah.
McDonald's and Burger Kings and fast food and Kentucky Fried Chicken and
And on chariots that we don't even use anymore.
yeah, yeah, exactly. I mean, it made no sense to me, and that's where I really started to let go of all these different timelines. And I read this one book, and I don't want to make this about me. I want to hear from
No,
you,
no,
but I
it's
read this one book. It was The Dead Sea Scrolls and the Christian Myth by John Allegro, and he was one of the translators. He is British or English, but he was an agnostic, and he was the only agnostic who was on the translation board that got access to the Dead Sea Scrolls. And I think he was a professor, maybe Oxford or Cambridge. And he's the only one that released his translations from it. Everyone else that was on the translation board was from the Vatican or the Church of England. And then Allegro was this brilliant free thinker and he said that where we get time zero, he said the whole timeline, and this is back when he's finding this, the Dead Sea Scrolls eviscerate even the timeline that we're on, because he said where they get year zero and 70 years, the temple wasn't actually destroyed in year 70, but what they did was on Jesus's death, they had to put 70
work
years
back.
because it said seven, weeks or whatever.
Yeah.
Anyway, they like use their written prophecies to change time, so we think these, and that was what rocked my world too. I'm like, oh, the time is different. This isn't.
Yeah.
What year are we in? What
What
is
we were
this?
then.
Yeah, what
Yeah.
is this? Right.
And if you read Revelation, it's all about urgency. I mean, he writes to the seven churches, which
Yes.
where are they now?
Right.
Rubble.
Right.
Why there's a lot of Christians that kind of put this, well, God's not a God of confusion. And I'm like, but he gave you a timeline, and you're then saying, oh, we're going to ignore that.
Hmm.
He's just left us for 2,000 years wondering what on earth's going on.
Yeah.
It's like, but how can you marry those two? And when it says, I'm coming soon, don't, Daniel was told to roll up the scroll, but John wasn't. And they
Right.
just go, oh, well, it was written in 90, AD 95. And I'm like, was it? It doesn't say in Revelation when it was written.
Right.
And I personally think it was written probably in the 6 years before the destruction of the temple,
Hmm.
7 years, and where it was urgent and it said, I'm coming soon.
Yes.
So
Yes.
don't roll this up. This has got to,
Yes. Yes.
and it lines up so well. The only way to deny it is to say that soon, well, in God's terms, a year is a
1,000 years. Yeah. A day
thousand.
with the Lord is 1,000 years, and 1,000 years is a day.
Which is just so. What is the millennial reign a day then? I mean, it's just
Right.
you
Right.
twist it. You have to twist it to fit what we're being presented, and then
Right.
you read about Nero and everything he did in the first century. I mean, he was just widely known as the Antichrist for
Right.
in the first century. There was no question
Yes.
as to who it was in
Right.
that time. His name in Gematria comes up as 666
Right. Right.
or even 616, I think, which is one of the other readings of, if you go back to the original text of the Mark of the Beast
Mm.
and the beast number. But Rome was clearly the beast system,
Yes. Yes.
and it was destroyed at the
Right.
same time. It was the judgment of both Israel and the beast system.
Yes.
And the Geneva Bible. So I was going back to say about the Geneva Bible. So I did this video and I just talked about these footnotes of the Geneva Bible and how it talks about it's in Pope Hildebrand's reign, blah blah blah. And I suddenly, for the first time in any videos I'd done, I got a red mark, a warning on TikTok, a community right violation,
Wow.
and it took me a while to even figure out what the video is about because they don't let you watch it if you get this violation mark on your
Wow.
account. And I realized it was the Bible. And there's a website that I was finding these footnotes on. And I went to look in the website after I got this community violation, and it was blocked for the whole of Europe.
What?
It just said there's an IP issue and this website's no longer available in Europe.
Wow.
And I did a video. It took me a while to figure out what the video was. And when I then did a follow up video saying, well, we can't even access the Geneva Bible footnotes anymore. And King James, he burnt all the Geneva Bibles. If you were found with the Geneva Bible in Britain in King James's reign, they were burnt, and or you were put to death if you weren't willing to give up your Geneva Bible.
Wow.
And so they took it away. And the day after I did this video calling it out, it was back up. And I was just
Wow.
like, it feels very weird. I mean, maybe
Yeah.
it's a complete
Yeah.
coincidence, but and part of you feels a bit obviously worried kind of putting that content out there. And yeah, but I just felt when I'd read all this and put it all together and watched a lot of the content, I I just felt a calling to try and help get this word out there. And
Mm.
I did a video that was kind of, not my face, anonymous, the first one on my TikTok if you scroll back. And I just kept thinking, oh, don't be a coward. Just
Mm.
if you're going to put your name to something, put your name to something.
Yes.
And I started having really weird things happen when I started putting content out around the house. Just like I'd be sitting there and a toy that had been under the sofa for months would suddenly start making noise.
Wow.
Lots of weird things happened. So I did a bit of an anointing and
Yeah.
clearing of
Yeah.
that. And yeah, and because I do wonder, because I was speaking to a follower on email a while ago, and I mentioned that my dad was actually a Freemason for a little while. Not for, he had a construction company and he enjoyed the big
Yeah.
dinners
Yeah.
and things. I
Yeah.
think he thought it was just a bit of fun, but he left very, very suddenly, and he won't talk about it. And whatever I try, he won't talk about it. but it was just all very sudden, and it was just, and then she started accusing me of being a shill,
Mm,
oh, I'm questioning you now, and I'm, it's, you've got to, yeah.
yeah.
Hopefully, people see that I'm genuine. I'm just trying to
Oh, for sure.
get
Let me
this
tell you.
message out, but
I can one of my favorite quotes is energy doesn't lie. People lie, energy doesn't. And that's why I was so thankful that you responded like you don't even have to worry about you keep going. Don't worry about those
yeah,
people. It's so even on that in Freemasonry, I have very very close friends who um, are in that the females in the female order and the man's obviously in the order, and they have explained to me how it works in the left hand path and the right hand path and how it gets advanced. And they don't talk to me about the rituals and stuff, but I really understand how the world is the way the world is in that order just by the little things that they share. For instance, like they'll put a contract in front of everyone and just have everyone sign it blindly. And the people
yeah,
who are unwilling to sign it go on the right hand path. And my friend's husband was the only one out of 400, a little over 400 men, was the only one who didn't sign it.
wow, yeah,
And that's
I,
how the world is the way the world is. It's just
yeah,
compliance and ego and trying to rise in a world built on no transparency, no authenticity, no integrity, no even true to oneself. Like,
no, but I think 2020 made a big difference to a lot of people. I
yes.
don't know whether it was just God used their plans of evil to flip it on them, or if it's just because they're scrambling as this all comes to an end, or what. But I think for a lot of people, it opened a lot of eyes.
Yeah.
And I feel like there is a kind of a divide happening.
Hmm.
Um, and there's the people who've had 8 boosters, and then the people
Yeah.
who
Yeah.
prevailed through that
Yes.
time,
Yes.
which was tough for a lot of people
Oh,
to stand strong on that. And I think it revealed a lot about this world and where you're putting your trust and faith. Is it in science
hmm,
and pharmacia and
yeah.
that side of things, or and um, yeah, because another passion of mine before I kind of came onto Little Season is kind of birth and
Hmm,
women's health, because I think here we've got a maternity services crisis, and I won't get on the podium about it, but
hmm,
I think again in that world there's a big witch hunt going on at the minute for women who are kind of stepping outside
yeah.
of the
Yeah.
medicalized birth and pregnancy system, and there's some really horrible hit pieces going on at the minute.
Hmm,
And actually, I found when I had an account talking about birth in a way of trying to help women see that you don't have to go always down this really highly medicalized path was
yeah.
actually way tougher. It was way tough. The things I got accused of when
Wow.
I was talking about some of the benefits of home birthing and that kind of thing was
Yeah.
like wild. But I think God used that as a way for me to kind of build a bit of a thick skin on social media and to be a bit brave and put yourself out there.
Yeah.
I think everything happens for a reason and in his timeline. But
Right.
yeah, we're here.
We're here. Here we are, and we're talking. It's so beautiful. What do you think about this? I was on this podcast, actually talking about how I believe that we're in Satan's little season, but I was not even at that time fully as educated as I am now, or I didn't even develop to my thesis. I just knew in my gut that we're not waiting for this millennial reign to come. And I was talking to them, and then they went on this path, this couple, and they started doing all this research. So I was watching their video like a week later, and she showed artwork of kings all over the world, all
Really.
over the world around at the same time that had different names, but it was the same king. It looked the exact
Same.
same.
Yeah.
They just gave him different names. And when I was in Paris, I think last September, not this past, a little over a year ago, I was walking to the Eiffel Tower by myself, a free day before work, and I walk into this. There's cathedrals everywhere, there's churches everywhere, but there was this one cathedral, and I just felt drawn to go into it. And I come up to it, and it was the only Anglican cathedral in Paris.
Wow.
And I walk into this, and I'm the only one in there, and I'm immediately like, my spirit starts grieving. I start crying because I look at all the sacred architecture. I look at the sacred geometry. I see this 4-story pipe organ that no one knows how to play anymore. And I mean, it was amazing. I'm the only one in this place, and I walk all the way up to the front to right before the altar or whatever, where they had it roped off. And I'm looking at all this, and everything that was Christian, what we associate Christianity today, cross, Jesus statues, anything that's
Mhm.
resembled today's modern imagery of Christianity, I could tell was put in after this building. It was not original.
Yeah.
So I sit back in the first row of this pew, and I'm looking up, and it's these imagery of the stained glass was the imagery of this king, and he was strong, and he was bowing, and sometimes he had his sword like this, and people were coming and worshiping before him. And I am like, and I'm looking in this architecture. I'm sitting on the floor. The tiling on the floor was unbelievable. And I'm like, God. And I was wrestling with Jesus at this time. What do I even believe in Jesus anymore? Like, what is Jesus? Is it a construct? Jesus? Is it Hail Zeus? Well, is Zeus the father of the pantheon? And Jesus brings glory to the Father. And he says, I and my Father are one. He that abideth in me and I in him, the same bringeth forth much fruit. For without me you can do nothing. Meaning, he was bringing us back to the Father. I'm like, okay, maybe that's what he means. I don't know. But as I'm looking at this stained glass, I am like, who were these people? Where did they go? I could cry now. I was just weeping. Where did these people go? Who are these people? God, what, what was this? I just could not wrap my head being in this undeniable reality that I'm
Yeah.
experiencing, and no correlation to present day. Zero. And everyone walks in like, no, this is nice, and walks out. And I'm like, no one even knows how to play this pipe organ anymore.
Yeah.
Maybe a note, but like I can only
Yeah.
imagine the code, the sound, the frequency, the
Like,
unbelievable, our organs just detoxed immediately
yeah.
from some
Yeah.
code of like,
Yeah.
um, and
Well,
that's
it's
when,
called an organ. Just, yeah, it
yeah,
just
it's an
tells you
organ.
everything
Yeah,
you
for
need
our
to know.
organs. Yes. And that's when I realized in that moment, getting back to what I watched that podcast, that Jesus did reign. I was complete on that. He did reign for 1,000 years. Maybe the language of each of the people gave him a different name, but they all
Yeah.
loved this
Yeah.
king.
Well, and what's fascinating is there's a, I don't have the verse to mind, but there's a verse which talks about if you don't follow him and you don't celebrate the Feast of Tabernacles and travel potentially to the beloved city,
Mhm.
then you'll be turned to desert. And
Mm,
where have we got a lot of desert?
yes. Yes.
I mean, probably close to you guys
Yeah.
and
Yeah. Oh,
parts of.
yeah. Oh, yeah.
I was looking into Australia because obviously there's huge parts of Australia which are
Right.
desert, and the Aborigines were talking about how it wasn't always like that. They had memories of, or certainly passed down the generations of the
Yeah.
whole of the country, of the land being luscious and green.
Yes.
And then it all lines up with where all these Egyptian buildings, the melted buildings
Yes.
potentially,
Yes.
in parts of the US, which
Oh,
kind of
so
famous.
much of the U.S. Yeah, in our most ancient places, like where the Hopi Indians who still exist today, they would call. I read the Book of the Hopi, and it's fascinating. They called the Navajo. There's all these native tribes or yeah, peoples in the U.S. And the Navajo, which are one of the oldest American Indian tribes, and they're in Arizona, call the Hopi the ancient ones. And the Hopi doctrine and writings have been preserved 100%. They've kept it, and they're still way out in the middle of nowhere, these little Hopi villages. And they talk about the ant people who took them underground and
Uh-huh.
preserve them. And I'm like, what is going on? And like this gets into inner earth, it gets into all sorts of other
Everything. But yeah,
conversations.
where did the
Like,
evil go? I mean,
yes, yes,
I think people have this mistaken belief that all evil is removed for the millennial reign and
right.
that everyone will and it says every knee will bow, but I think there must have been some rebellions and
Yes, and
his followers
here's
were
what I
still
was taught.
here,
He ruled with a rod of iron in the millennial
which they
reign.
didn't
That's what it
like.
says. But that also means that he had to rule with force because not everyone was love and light and benevolent and good. There had to
Yeah.
be that sin could not deviate. And that's what that rod of iron meant. And this is what I heard a long time ago. And I was like, yeah, that makes sense. Why would he rule
Yeah.
with a rod of iron unless not everyone accepted his reign, but they couldn't break or deviate from that reign? And I'm like, oh,
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if you visited Glastonbury when you were in the UK.
no, unfortunately.
It's just the history there is just so fascinating. I was actually went on 11 and
Oh,
my lovely
awesome.
follower at the Chalice Wells, and she was there because of my video, and it was her birthday. It was just all a
Wow.
bit mind blowing. It was the first time I've been kind of recognised out in the
That's
wild.
awesome.
But she was like, "Of course you're here in Glastonbury on 11/11," because part of what we were talking about before is when none of my account was intended to be anything to do with Mary Magdalene. I'd never really thought about her before,
Mm,
but when I was starting to realize of the little season, and I was like, where does she fit in this? Because she was obviously important enough to be the first person to see him resurrected
yeah.
and had that honor. And there's obviously gospel about her, and this, but other than that, it's kind of all very hush hush. And
Yeah.
the Roman Catholic Church has she desecrated her name and her
Yes.
memory.
Yes.
So where I was trying to figure out where all that, and then some of these revelations started coming to me, and that's where some of my videos flow, where a lot of it's just speculation and wonder, and
Yeah.
but Glastonbury is where it's said that Joseph Arimathea and potentially some of the apostles went to after the Jewish-Roman War, and they built the first ever church, St Michael's, on top of Glastonbury Tor.
Mm,
And there's lore that he washed the Holy Grail in Chalice Wells, and ever since there's red waters that flowed out that's full of iron. And then there's
amazing.
just over the pathway is the water, and I've got my white
Yeah.
water from.
Oh, that's amazing. I watched that video. I was blown away. I'm like, oh, so cool.
And it's like there's the white water and the red water, and they flow constantly, and they have done. And they had this enormous abbey there that was just I can't even imagine.
Mm,
And it was the wealthiest abbey in the country.
wow.
Glastonbury had more wealth than the crown
Wow.
during this time, and it was obviously completely destroyed, utterly destroyed in the Reformation. I mean, there was no reform; it was just complete and utter destruction of some of
Right.
these abbeys.
Right.
Some of them survived, some of them didn't. Glastonbury is just part walls now, and they took the abbot up on Glastonbury Tor and hung, drawn, and quartered him, which is one of the most brutal ways
Mm,
to be killed. And it was almost like for me when you're there, you can kind of almost it's like a Voldemort final battle kind of
yeah.
vibe. What's left is just rubble, and there was obviously a lot of hatred there. I mean, they say it was Henry VIII who, whether that was added time and almost the story is just made up, but
Yeah.
something happened, and these beautiful cathedrals, a lot of them were completely brought to ruins, and
Mm,
Glastonbury is just a fascinating one because it was said that that was obviously built and the entire village was set up for pilgrimages. I mean,
mm,
why? And for me, I personally believe that the millennial king kind of started from there
yeah.
and
Yeah.
it flowed from Britain, with King Lucius being the first in the first century to declare Britain a Christian country. And they kind of claim that Rome brought Christianity to these Neanderthals in Britain who were
Right.
just
Right.
worshipping the earth, and but it's not really true at all. The correspondence is quite clear. King Lucius was asking for some of his people back to try and continue building. from
Mm,
here. And it's said that the Mother Mary came to Glastonbury, either died there or in Wales. And you go around Wales and there's all these villages named after biblical places, down to there's a Mount Nebo, there's a
wow.
Peniel, there's a just Mount Carmel. It's all, and then you've got, yeah, it's just fascinating. Like, where did it all emanate from?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then where is the camp of the saints now? Because a lot of people say, well, he would be here reigning during the little season, which I just feel like personally would eliminate the entire purpose of the little season,
Right.
which is like it's a final chance
Totally.
to
Totally. That's right. It
to
is.
prove you pick your side.
Yes.
Really. Hang on, darling. Yes.
What do you think of, and it's okay if she interrupts, but so I have all these different theories. I grew up in Seattle. Seattle's called the Emerald City in the US, like all the nicknames they give cities. Seattle's the Emerald City, and Seattle is um it's Washington State, Washington, the first king supposedly in America. It's
Yeah.
so influential. It's where all what comes out of Seattle is changed the world. Microsoft, Amazon, Costco, Boeing. I mean, I could go on and on of the things that came out of the city that changed the entire trajectory of the world on commerce and I was always fascinated by that, but it's so spiritually dark. It's unbelievably dark.
Is
It's
it?
the
Yeah,
darkest dark.
it is.
And for everyone that's still up there
Hi. So
listening, oh, you can do whatever you got to do. No problem.
I'll just try and
All right, no problem. Um, and she's helping her baby.
sorry.
Yeah,
I'm
no problem. No problem. But you have the Emerald City in Seattle, influential
yeah.
place in America. Then you have obviously the Wizard of Oz, which they call the Emerald
Yeah,
City.
which is, and it's very interesting that that's one of the key MK Ultra, Millennial Kingdom Ultra movies.
Yes, and then look at Wicked's coming out, and
Hmm.
they're celebrating this, but it's the inversion, and I think Oz is a play too. Ozzy, I think it's Az, and it's Oz like and then it would be the beginning and end. It's the story of the beginning and end,
Yeah,
and maybe it's their beginning and their end is the story of the false, the wizard. But also what I find fascinating, so you have in America this no kings protest starting up. You have these northern lights
yeah,
showing in Texas. You can see them in Texas,
yeah.
which is unbelievable. Like everyone's like, what is going on? So I think when you're talking about did Jesus go somewhere or where did the king go? I think he went to the northern city
Hmm.
and they say Satan reigns there. That's Santa is
Yep,
the inverted, and I do
yep.
know, and I've always taught this that. So what is Santa dressed like? He has hair white as wool. He
Hmm.
stands in a furnace of fire when he comes down the chimney. He wears red and white. And if
Hmm.
you read Revelation chapter, I think it's I don't know 5, but it talks about Jesus and it says his hair was like white as wool.
Right as well. Yeah,
His feet standeth in a furnace of fire, his vestures dipped in blood, and out of his mouth proceedeth a double-edged sword, this booming
yeah,
voice, and you get the Santa going ho ho ho, and he's all
yeah.
knowing, all benevolent, but he is conditional love. So, and it's the first, and I've listened to a study a long time ago, it's why most atheism happens in Christian homes once kids go into college is because the very first time a child was told a benevolent, all knowing being was Santa, and then it becomes a lie, it breaks something in their
Breaks it. Yeah,
very deep psyche that even
yeah,
God cannot be real.
yeah,
And so there's this whole inverted truth, and then the Northern Lights are coming again. And then Russia, I'm fascinated by Russia because they're demonizing Russia like it's Satan's expanding kingdom. And so they're demonizing all these things. But I wonder if all these northern lights that are expanding and the green and the is Jesus really preparing the hearts for? the
Yeah.
brain. And you have Donald Trump, which is a fascinating. I had the creator of the Great Awakening map. I'm friends with him, Champ. I don't know if you ever saw this map here, but
Yeah.
in fact, I got to hang out with him in Thailand a couple of months ago, which was
Wow.
unbelievable. I'm
Awesome.
like, hey, we were talking, we had such a great time. But he was the first one when I had him on my podcast in 2020. I said at the last in 1 Corinthians 15:56, it says, "In the twinkling of an eye, at the last trump, for the trumpet shall sound, and the dead shall be raised." And Trump picks his first vice president as his last name was Pence. So you have trumpets. You have the trumpets sounding.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, what? You have the
And he's,
trumpets sounding. It wakes everyone up. Everyone's either on this side or that side. You're this or that. You project all the things on this man. The man's, I think, adoptive father. His middle name is Christ, Frederick Christ Trump. I mean, how do you, we're
well,
living
and
in the most,
even Revelation 9:11, it's Apollyon who he's obsessed with Apollo,
yes, he's up. Yes,
or
he is.
Abaddon,
Yes.
Abaddon.
A bad dawn. Yes. Yeah, he's obsessed with it.
Yep.
And I think I was on this retreat one time and I actually chuckled to myself. I'm like, oh, he's only here for a season and he knows what he's doing, which is why he's so confident. He's going to break Donald Trump, in my views, role is to destroy Satan's kingdom's power structure that ushers in the return of the king. That's all I think his role is.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's, and I, for me as well, it's just fascinating because he's got the Christians on side,
Yeah,
which is it's so it's so complex what has been building, and it's such a long game, and I think people don't realize they think we've just been sat this 2,000 years just waiting.
right.
Yeah, we've just been getting smarter and more technology
Right,
and
right.
it's like, well, okay, but what about the orphan trains and like you said, the empty cities and
Yes,
the Cabbage
yes,
Patch Kids and all the fires and
yes.
it's like, where does all this history fit in with this 2,000 year just like sitting, waiting, wondering when Jesus can come back? It's
Right. And what a cruel God. I mean, I grew up incredibly abused. What a cruel God.
yeah, to
If
just
if
leave us
that's what
waiting.
he's just like,
We'll forget
yeah,
about you for a couple of thousand years.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, it's so fascinating. What do you think of this? I have some Irish friends that one actually got sent back to Ireland. Obama deported him.
Wow.
Really interesting story. I've had, I think, 4 episodes, or maybe I did 5 episodes with him. But he had this other friend who's Irish, and he was sending me all these messages, and like the Garden of Eden actually started in Scott. Is Edinburgh in Scotland? Edinburgh, Scott.
Yes, yes,
Yeah,
it's capital.
that
Yeah.
so Eden's borough is what it means, and then English he said is
Okay.
angels lish, that we speak the angels language, which is why it's the
Right.
spell casting and cursing and all the things come from this language.
Yeah.
And he was saying that that's where the Garden of Eden was, which would make. And so when I saw your videos, I'm like, okay. And I've been playing with this. What is the British crown? How could they rule the world? In fact, when I was there at Buckingham Palace, I'm like, and I see the window where that boy had fallen out of, and this is horrific stuff. I'm
Yeah.
there, and I'm like, the hubris of this little island to rule the world. I'm like, who do these people think they are? This is so crazy. But it must have been a spiritual authority that they were working under, not just a physical. There's no way it could have been a physical
Yeah.
power. It had to have been a spiritual power that they were bringing with them to conquer.
Yeah. Which is again, it almost comes back to Glastonbury because there's obviously this story of King Arthur and his round table of 12
Yes.
knights and the Holy Grail. And when you watch, I don't know if you ever watched The Life of Brian,
I never have seen it.
which is it's the movie mocking the
Right. Jesus.
crucifixion. And
Yeah. Yeah.
I personally think Brian's the I don't know why. I haven't quite figured out why, but they use Brian when they're mocking him because it's also the name of the character in the Last President book. I don't know if you've read
No, I
that,
haven't read.
the Ingersoll Lockwood books.
No.
obviously there's Baron Trump in those books,
Yes, yes.
and that's very
And
interesting.
Dawn and Pence
And
is the bad guy. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
and it all starts in Fifth Avenue, New York, and it's the story. I've got a video kind of breaking it down a bit on TikTok, but that story to me is the end of the millennial reign because you've got
Mm,
this king, well, you've got this president that comes in trying to, everyone loves him and he's going to fix everything, and then it all goes out of control, and then there's like a government shutdown that goes on, and it ends up coming to an end, and they're praying,
mm.
and then there's this the devil outside with a twinkling in his eye waiting for his time as the last president, as you say, the last Trump. And um, they're from like the 1800s, these books,
Yes,
and
yes.
it's all framed, and he's the character that's trying to help the world is called Brian. And then you've got the life of Brian where they joke that they crucified the wrong person, and it talks about kind of Mary, the equivalent to Mary Magdalene in this
Mhm.
movie as the Welsh tart, they call her, which in the UK is again another kind of joke on kind of what they display her to be.
Mm.
And they just bat it off that that's because the actress was Welsh. But then I was saying, you go to Wales and there's all these, and they've got this, what they say is Jacob's pillow where he rested his head was from Scotland, and it's gone back and forth from, it's the crown, the chair that the royalty are crowned on.
Wow. Hi, sweetie.
It's not covered. Oh,
We're
sorry.
almost done. No, no worries.
Just so,
No worries.
but yeah, they've got this chair that they put this stone underneath to crown the kings, and
Mm.
it's yo-yoed back and forth from Edinburgh. They stole it back, and then it's gone back into Westminster Abbey,
Wow.
and all the royals are crowned on this stair with this massive stone underneath, which is said to be Jacob's pillow. And just the history is when you're trying to pick it apart, it's so hard. But let's say they invert everything, so
Yes, yes.
where you see the Wizard of Oz and you've got this Joker behind a curtain who's not actually really doing anything, and he's
Right, right.
where it all fits together. It's just trying to break it all down and piece it together. But I don't know. There's something about Ireland, obviously being the Emerald Isle.
Yes,
And
yes.
I've gone into emeralds. It's become a bit of an obsession of mine,
Yeah.
trying to figure out because it is. And then you've got the Esmeralda story of,
Mm.
and she's going to find, if you go to the original Hunchback of Notre Dame, and that's all really fascinating.
Wow.
Um, but obviously describes God's throne as being like a shining like emeralds, and
Yes.
the beloved city at the end of Revelation. Obviously, one of the keystones is an emerald. So there's definitely something going on. When you read the history of Ireland and how they were constantly taken over. It does in the Tuatha De Danann, which it's a group of the kind of otherworldly people that come into Ireland, and
Mm.
I haven't quite pieced it all together. There's something deeper going on, whether it's the tribe of Dan and that's their story.
Yeah.
I'm not 100% sure, but there's just so much. There's just so many rabbit holes I want to go down. I've filled about 5 or 6 notebooks since April.
Amazing. It's amazing. We're in such an amazing time. And I know you gotta hop here in a sec. I just
I'm so
wanna
sorry. I'm just going to go.
Okay, no problem, no problem.
Sorry. Well,
Oh, yeah, no problem. And we can wrap here in a sec, but I think it's so fun to explore all these things. Like even there's a show Poldark, which I really like, and it's a British show, and hit the girl is Esmeralda, and she's like they make her
yeah.
like a low
Red
class,
head
like
and
yeah,
pale
right, but she's
skin.
red, bright, vivid red hair, and
Yep. And that's very interesting because Poldark's set in Cornwall, and there is law that Joseph Arimathea brought was a tin miner, and that was his trade. How he made his money was in tin, and obviously Poldark's all about the tin mines.
yes,
And they
yes,
say that he brought Jesus, and certainly that Jesus walked that land and came with Joseph at some point
Wow.
to do the tin trading and work with him. And that during that visit was when they went to Glastonbury, and that even Jesus himself, as a young man, may have helped build like a kind of a wattle type church there. And so that's
Wow.
why when they came back and built the first proper stone church there,
Yes.
um, that enacts. I was reading some books that I got from Glastonbury, and it does imply that it may have been dedicated to Mary, whether it was the Mother Mary or Mary Magdalene, the first ever church.
Mm,
They say
mm.
it's St Michael's, but and then you've got St Michael. Yeah, you've got St Michael's Mount off Cornwall, and then the one on the other side, where it's said that that was where St Michael cast loose Satan into the pit. And it's just all this history. It's just fascinating when you dip into it.
Yeah, it is.
But yeah,
The
we
thing
haven't just
is,
been sitting for 2,000 years, like twiddling our thumbs.
that's
And
right. That's right. That's right.
but
I
yeah,
am I am so thankful for this conversation and all the content you put out. And I just everyone, please go on TikTok and go find Final Conspiracy Boss and follow all Abby's content. It's beautiful. And I'm very grateful for your heart
yeah.
and your intelligence. And just thanks for coming. Thanks for coming on the
Sorry for the chaos.
podcast.
I am hoping that my life will go a bit more back to normal when we're back where we flooded last November.
Mm,
And yeah, we're only just due to go back in next week. So
wow.
yes, I'm hoping I can get myself a nice office space set up like yours and get back down some of these rabbit holes rather than constantly decorating and managing builders and insurers and all of that jazz.
Yeah, sure. Sure.
But maybe it's been this year. It's just needed to throw my life upside down a bit.
Yeah, yeah. Well, this year has
to
been a wild year for so many, myself
yeah,
included. It's been one wild year. But you said something, I can't remember if it was when we were recording or not, but it's kind of returning full circle or back to yourself. And I feel like that's been my journey this year of coming back
really,
to
yeah,
myself and remembering like, oh yeah, that's me. I've shed all the things that aren't me, but I'm
yeah,
remembering, oh, this is me. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. It's and I just yeah, it's amazing how since I've started creating this content and others are leading the way as well ahead of me, but the it's just kind of exploded that people are engaging with it. And I see now comments on videos where people are already putting, well, yeah, well, it's because we're in Revelation 20, we're not at the start.
Yeah.
I don't even need to comment anymore on videos
That's
that
amazing.
because people are already there in the comments and engaging and hopefully opening eyes. And even if it just drops a little bit of truth in and someone
Mm.
takes a chance to read into it and starts to realize that, yeah, this isn't preterism, this isn't futurism, this is a
Yeah.
very specific
Yes.
eschatology based on what can easily be missed because it's
Totally. Based on
just
our
designed.
eyes as opposed to our ears. And I think
Yeah,
that's the difference is Jesus says with eyes to see, those with eyes to see. And he does say with ears to hear, but he starts with eyes to see.
yeah,
And I think that's what we're doing is we're looking around and going, what you said doesn't align with what I'm seeing. So what
yeah.
am I actually seeing? Who made this?
That's the
How did they
truth.
make it? Where did the money come from? How did they transport? You're telling me horse and buggy people on wooden spoked wheels carried these massive, no way. And that's not even the old
Yeah,
monolithic structures. We're not even talking about the pyramid ages and we're not even talking about the old. We're just talking
yeah,
about literally the buildings that are still in use today by people that live.
yeah,
Who built those?
yeah. And even like things like Stonehenge. I mean, there's a
Right.
there's a book that I've got which talks about early those century history, and yeah, they thank you, darling. Thank you, darling. Um, she's so sweet, bless. Yeah, and this story's been apparently not true. It's another one of those. It's a mythology, and it some of the start of the century. It takes us all the way from Britain when Brutus leaves Troy and comes to the British Isles all the way through, and but just some of the history there, and it talks about how Merlin went over to Ireland to get the stones for Stonehenge, and he says, "Do you know how to move these stones?" And they try and lift them, and he goes, "I'll show you how to do it." And he uses. They don't explicitly say in the book exactly how he does it. It sounds like some kind of frequency based
Yeah.
movement, and he teaches them, and obviously it's all tied into the to all the all of that. But it's just I'm really enjoying picking it all apart, and my content's got a bit quiet because my personal life, as you can see, is very chaotic, and
Yeah, yeah.
I'm hoping to get back into it once we're settled and try and start. Yeah. And I think what I love is all the creators just add a different flavor and a different
Mhm.
approach. And
Yeah. Yeah.
when you start seeing what they put in TV shows and
Right.
how they reveal some truth there, and like we said, obviously don't even start on Twilight and
Yeah,
all of,
right.
but going back to Washington State and
Yeah, exactly. That's another yeah, yeah. I mean, it's like
yeah,
it's so and what is Twilight is the evening before is Twilight the evening, right? Right
yeah,
before
yeah,
completely dark and that would make sense that it went into
into darkness. Yeah,
yeah, yeah. It's
yeah.
so interesting.
There's so many threads to it, and then and that's what led me to it because obviously in Twilight there's she's an Esmeralda,
Yes,
the
yes,
mother, Edward's mum in the series, and they go to Esme's island, and it's just, and then you've got High Brazil, which is meant to be, yeah, and I just every time I stumble across something, I just want to go down, follow it through, but
easy.
it all fits in. But it's hopefully over the next year we'll have to see what happens. I mean,
Yeah, it's going to be really exciting. And even Trump, at 3 in the morning or 2 in the morning, his time last night, wrote this tweet that is a novel and said it basically there's no more wishy-washy. It said we're deporting all illegals. This is it. This is the time. And I'm like, wow, no one's ever seen him be this direct. And so it is happening. And
it's
even
going to be an
this is so
interesting
side
year.
note. I know we're going really long, and I will go. But there's the Abraham Lincoln. I'm wondering who are all these people. Like there's Mount Rushmore in the U.S. and it has George Washington's face, Abraham Lincoln's
Yeah,
face, Teddy Roosevelt's face, and Thomas Jefferson. And no one even knows how they even did that. And there's fake
no,
photos of the history of that. But I was at Abraham Lincoln's memorial, which I had never been to. And let me find this photo because this was, yeah, here it is. There's a photo. So the land, you can see it goes way deeper.
wow, yeah,
Way, like who built that thing? Are you kidding me? Like, and I was going in and I'm in this thing and, this is the artwork in the top right. I know it's hard to see, but
wow,
this is in the top, so everyone's looking at Abraham Lincoln, but there's this, I know it's hard to see, but these
crazy artwork.
a crazy artwork. I'm like,
Yeah,
what is going on?
yeah,
And even, I mean, you've seen, I mean, but how'd they make that? That's all one solid piece of whatever. Who was this man? Why is he called Abraham? He's the only president
but
with a Jewish or Hebrew name that we've ever had in the U.S. And like, what was this? And he's the liberator of people, and he uses a lot.
yeah.
It's all
And
so
all of the presidents being related all the way back to King
yes,
John or Charlemagne or
yes,
whoever it is that they
yes,
say they're all
yes,
related to. I started doing some videos recently on the kind of the Hellfire Club and how that's all linked to the US presidents and all these secret societies where they
yes,
did all these kind of debauched parties and underground and rituals, and it all kind
yes,
of fits in with this shift from kind of a godly way of living to this
yes,
shift to like do what you want. Like we're gonna
right,
throw it in the face of and have these rituals and just do whatever we decide to do. And
right.
it's I mean, Madeline breaks it all down very, very well. That we can't
Yeah,
even
she's
touch on
amazing.
today, but
Right.
it all just fits in when you look at the timeline and you just take the veil off a little bit and
Yes.
think about it a bit more critically as to, yeah. they control. And who creates the school textbooks? The
Yeah,
Maxwell,
that's right.
like Elaine Maxwell's father.
Right.
Um, and yeah,
It's it's so wild. And even that photo I took of Lincoln's memorial, they only have that photo up because there's so much construction in Washington, D.C. right now because they're preparing for the 250th celebration next year. And the whole thing is Trump said, yeah, we're going to bring the UFC fighting on the front house lawn, which is his way of I think Trump's
yeah,
mocking their world. Like, I'm going to show you, I'm going to make a mockery because I think everything's going to get revealed and people will stop
yeah,
giving our power to these structures that are
beings,
like
yeah,
it's a
yeah,
joke, you know? And
yeah.
so anyway, says I
Well,
could talk to you forever. I know you're
yeah,
busy. Thank
we'll
you.
have to do it again.
I
I
would love
maybe
it. I
I'll
would
do it in
love it.
reverse. I'll have you on.
Hey, that would be amazing and so grateful for your time. Thanks for making time today.
Oh, thank you for having me. And sorry, we a bit chaotic
Oh, it's
but yeah,
perfect.
there's so many threads to it. But yeah, we're finishing at 14:14 UK time.
I love it. I love it. Well, thank you. Abby, thank you so much for coming on. I can't wait for future conversations. Everyone, please go follow Final Conspiracy Boss on TikTok. I will put that link in the show notes. And regardless of what you think of the content or the timeline or your view or whatever, the most important thing is to stay in love. To stay in love, to heal our pain and trauma, to go inside and dig deep to uncover all the chains and all the shackles that are keeping us bound from experiencing the fullness of life, love, and really our own liberty, our own freedom, our own expression in this world. So I pray that that is what you continue to do as we walk forward each day in this world. I bless you all. I am Lucas Mack. This is the Lucas Mack Show, and I'll talk to you on the next episode. Thank you for listening. If you're struggling to break free and need support, go to my website at lucasmack.com. There you'll find resources like videos and ebooks, and also information on how to work with me for coaching. Thank you again, and I'll talk to you soon.